Okay, this fly that we're going to tie is a soft hackle. I've really been on a soft hackle kick lately, and so we're going to go over kind of an interesting body style. It's not something that's unique to us or something that we made up. It's been around for a long time, just not a lot of people use it. And then we'll show you how to wrap two soft hackles at the same time. So anyway, this one's going to be kind of a brown and yellow theme, so I'm going to use some yellow UTC 70 thread and dress your hook down right about to the point where the hook starts to bend. The tail for this one is just going to be some fibers selected from a Coq de Leon rooster cape. I think this one is medium or light pardo. They're both really similar. So I'm going to take 10 or 12 fibers from there, and we'll just tie those in like a hackle fiber tail. Tie them in, check the length, that's pretty good. And then once they're tied in, I like to go underneath those and prop them up just a little bit. So that's all you do for the tail on this fly. Now I'm going to wrap forward, trim those off. Now we're ready for the body. Now this body is kind of an interesting dubbing method, and it's a pretty level dub. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin my thread counterclockwise, flatten out my thread, and I'm going to build up a little bit of a taper here in the front. And it doesn't have to be completely flat, just because we're wrapping dubbing over it. So just a little bit. So I'm going to make a body now out of some Red Fox Squirrel Dubbing. So we did a video about how to make your own squirrel dub. And basically this is just dubbing. This is just hair that's cut right off a squirrel pelt. We sell the full squirrel pelts. It gives you about a lifetime worth of dubbing. But anyway, this dubbing is cut closer to the tail, so the fibers are a little bit longer, and I want that because they'll mat down nice. So I'll just dub this on kind of thick actually, and make a little bit longer noodle than you think you're going to need. So if you can see, we've got about a 5-inch noodle on this. That's a pretty big one. So I'm going to push that right up to the fly, and you can see that my thread's not all the way to the back. So with any luck, there's going to be a little bit of thread showing through. So now instead of just wrapping this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a dubbing loop. So I'm going to take the thread up here, make a loop, and I'm going to do it again. And what that does is it makes the thread show through on this loop pretty well. And then just make sure my taper is good. Okay, at this point you're going to stick on whatever dubbing tool you like. I like this Gator Grip a ton. Since I got it, I've kind of stopped using my ball bearing ones. And if you don't have a lot of room underneath your vise, you can just hold it out like this with your finger and give your twister a twist, and it will start to twist up your loop. And you want this super tight, and that's kind of why I have 2 layers of thread in the loop. So you can see that's a pretty tough cord. Now I like to use the rotary feature on the Revolution to do this, and I'm just going to wrap that forward, putting one turn in front of the other, just like that. So you can see how a little bit of yellow is poking through there, and it has that really tight segmented body style. That's kind of a cool little trick. You can do that with any type of dubbing. And again, it's nothing new. It's been around for a long time. Just not a lot of people tie like that anymore. So hopefully we'll get you to start. Okay, so now for the hackle on this, I have 2 4B hen capes. One's bright yellow and one's brown. And so these are from Whiting. They're a pretty economical product, and they tie really, really good soft hackles. So I'm going to select a feather that has barbs roughly the same length, or maybe a little bit shorter than the body. Okay, so the feather length that I went for is about like that. And so I have a yellow one and a brown one picked out. And I'm going to put the brown one underneath the yellow one and line up the parts of the feather that I cleaned off the under fluff. So I've got them lined up like this, and I'm just going to lay those down so that they curve kind of up. It doesn't really matter if these feathers don't want to behave, that's totally fine. And what I want to do is leave a little bit of stem out the front of the hook point so that when I start wrapping I can kind of manipulate those. So once I have them tied in how I want, I just wrap back to where that body starts. And I also, when I did the squirrel video, I created a dubbing blend that has squirrel mixed with cinnamon ice dub. So I'm going to use that for the thorax on this fly. So I'm just going to get some of that. This is kind of what it looks like. So same dubbing, just with chopped up ice dub mixed in with it. And I'm going to take that on there and actually start my thorax back here by the eye of the hook and wrap back into the body, just about like that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to wrap that hackle. So I'll take my hackle pliers and I'll just grab both of these feathers at the same time and pinch them together. So now they're gonna lay down just one after another. And a trick that I do, if I just started wrapping this, it would want to wrap just kind of flat like that. So I take my thumb to start it, and then take my finger and force those feathers to lay the way I want. And this one's going to take a little bit of coaxing. And I'm going to wrap backwards to where my thread is, just with like another turn and a half of hackle. And then I'm going to capture the hackle back here and wrap my thread forward to the eye. So now I've essentially trapped all of the hackle in there. And now instead of trimming, I should be able just to pull those, and I just broke off both of those hackle pliers, or not hackle pliers, little hackle tips. Okay, so at this point I draw everything back and create a nice little head. I'm going to wind my thread counterclockwise here. And that's nice and flat. So this one is a little bit more of a full soft hackle pattern. If you wanted to tie this more sparsely, you could like strip half the hackle if you wanted, but I kind of like the look of these full ones. So just do a quick whip finish. And we're done. Anyway, all these materials are obviously available on our store site, store.flyfishfood.com, or in our retail shop in Orem, Utah. Come on in, take a look, pay us a visit. Thanks for watching.